Hi guys, so I wanted to come on here and share my own thyroid cancer post-thyroidectomy journey and what it looked like to optimize my health and as well as my thyroid medication options. Now, I share this story for a few different reasons. Number one, I remember when I went through what I went through, I was just looking to hear other people's experience. And I think what's even better than just hearing someone's experience post-thyroidectomy is hearing how they got themselves well, like how they got themselves to feeling the best they could feel. So I want to share that with you guys. I'm sharing this as well because I work with people healing post-thyroidectomy all over the world. And when I share what I know from my own personal experience and just clinical experience and what I've gathered from the research, it's always so encouraging to them to be like, wow, okay, so she gets it. Like she knows what I'm going through or what I was thinking, or that experience isn't weird, or no, I knew that was wrong and I need to listen to my body. So I share because I know that in this journey, post-thyroid cancer or post-thyroidectomy, for whatever reason you had to get your thyroid removed, it can feel very lonely and kind of feel like everyone else is moving on with the fact that you've lost your thyroid, even your doctors, but you're still in it, you're still dealing with it. So it's really good to know you're not alone and what's common, what's not common, what's normal, what's not normal. So I share that. And then again, I share because it took me 7 years post my whole experience of getting my thyroid removed before I could share my story without crying. And one of the biggest reasons that I couldn't share my story without crying is because soon after having my thyroid removed, a few years afterwards, I started feeling bad and I started having all these symptoms that I was not well. And then a doctor of chiropractic really taught me what it looks like to heal my body and to really be my own best advocate within the healthcare system. And then I went to DC school, and everything I was learning was opening my eyes to what real health was. And it made me frustrated and it made me angry that I went through what I went through. It also made me realize that I was truly a victim because I was not given all of my choices. I wasn't educated. So many things should not have gone the way they did, and they did. And so I was angry and emotional and frustrated and upset for so many years, where I cried when I was sharing my story. But now I know with sharing my story and doing what I do helps so many of you guys have hope and feel better post-thyroidectomy. So from the beginning, I will let you guys know this. When I went in to get my thyroid checked out, I did not have any symptoms. I get that question asked all the time. What were your symptoms for your thyroid cancer? I didn't have any symptoms. I didn't have any symptoms that I would go to a doctor for. After everything was said and done and I was learning what I was learning about what true health was, healing, optimization, I realized that there were so many things throughout my life, these little signs and symptoms, things that my body was showing that it was dysregulated, that it's not healing optimally, that I was just taught to just manage and write off by my doctors for so many years. But a big one for me is that I had not a heart attack. I was gonna say heart attack, but I had a gallbladder attack at 16. And the reason why I said almost heart attack, because my gallbladder attack was so intense and so painful. I did think I was having a heart attack. I had no idea what the heck was going on. I was rushed to the emergency room. I was put on morphine. The pain was just unbearable. Doctor came in, and I remember just hearing him tell my parents, like, oh, it's like she has like 1,000 gallstones in her gallbladder. And I remember going like, what? But of course it was treated like no big deal. They could cut it out, send me on my way, get me the pain medication. The recovery for me from that gallbladder surgery and attack was more about the morphine withdrawals than the gallbladder attack surgery itself. It was just crazy. But I remember at 16 thinking, what? This doesn't seem normal. This doesn't seem okay. Like, something is wrong here and I need to do something about this. And I remember in my follow-up appointment, I brought this up to my doctor. And at that time I thought health, weight, I could lose some weight. And I was trying to talk to my doctor, like, but I was like 16. I'm like, I'm concerned about my health. I didn't know. And I didn't get any guidance. In fact, he was like, oh yeah, no, we got this. And at the end of the appointment, he gave me a Xerox copy of the food pyramid. And I was like, okay, weird. I mean, if he's not as concerned about this, then maybe I shouldn't be. But the problem is this. The gallbladder is rich with receptors for sex hormones like estrogen and thyroid hormones like T3. What that means is that your gallbladder will be dysfunctional. You will have issues with your gallbladder when your sex hormones, your thyroid hormones are off. You usually see gallbladder as kind of like this digestive piece, and you can cut it out and remove it, when in actuality, your gallbladder going out, your gallbladder becoming dysfunctional is a sign and symptom of something bigger. And in this current system that treats it like no big deal, we're missing big red flags. I'll never forget, I did a thyroid talk. There's about 200 people there in my city. And I said, raise your hand if you've had thyroid issues or had your thyroid removed and had gallbladder issues or have had your gallbladder removed. And so, a majority of the room's hands went up. It's connected. But again, no one really cared. So at 19, that's when I was driving in the car. I looked behind me. My mom noticed this nodule in my neck. And I was just visiting home from college. And I told my mom, I was like, yeah, I'll go to the school clinic, get it checked out. I remember I went to the school clinic. I was also having some symptoms, like feeling sick. They looked at my throat. They were like, oh, you have strep, and sent me on my way. I told my mom, I was like, Mom, no problem with this. It's just strep. She's like, no, you're coming home and you're going to a doctor here. And so that's kind of started a cascade of events. Now, for me, if I'm being completely honest, a lot of that time period for me was a blur. I blocked it out. Hearing you have cancer puts you in such a sympathetic mode, and especially when you're not given so much information and education and all these things. Like, I did block that out. It took years, and I spent years getting all my records and requesting all my records, because I was like, I need to remember what happened, because when I was in it, it was like I was in a movie and I was watching my life. Like, I remember being in the doctor's office, and when he was in there saying, like, told my mom, like, I'm so sorry to tell you, your daughter has cancer. I remember him specifically saying, but the good news is, like, this is the good cancer to have, which is the dumbest thing for a doctor to say. And so many doctors still say it. This is not a good cancer. You're living the rest of your life without a vital organ dependent on a small pill. Like, no. But I remember being disconnected when I went for my radiation. I remember being in a room, everything completely covered in plastic. The nurse coming in, I had high dose radiation. It was not necessary, but that's what I was given. It was just how you did things. I remember the nurse being in like a hazmat type suit, completely protected, and there's like that metal tray, and here I was feeling so vulnerable, and I just felt so vulnerable because I'm in this hospital gown. She's completely protected, and I had to drink this pill and had to be by myself. I remember feeling so alone and really scared, because this is the thing about my experience versus where I'm at now. When I went through that, it was a thing that just happened, and it was a scary, scary, scary thing that just happened, which meant that anything could just happen for the rest of my life. Nothing that I did, nothing in my experience, nothing in my environment, nothing could have contributed to this according to what I went through in my doctors. And that was scary. That was really scary to think, oh my gosh, I might have to go through this again. And I remember leaving there just wanting to forget it ever happened. Now, I was put on T4 medication, and I was fine at the beginning. Well, actually, I went back and I looked at this. I was actually put on T3 at the beginning, and I did not realize that. I was put on T4 and T3, and my doctor was like, oh, we're just going to use T3 temporarily because you lost your thyroid. It'll just help us get some hormones in there. And then they took me off T3, and that's where things crashed and burned. So I felt fine the first year or two, and then I didn't. And I was only on T4 only. I started losing my menstrual cycle. I started struggling with anxiety. I started struggling with depression and weight loss resistant. I remember going into my doctor's office, getting labs done. I don't feel fine, but my labs all looked fine. And that was so frustrating because I was doing CrossFit. I was doing veganism because I was like, okay, maybe this is how I'm going to lose weight and actually be finally healthy. But you're not going to out exercise, out eat, missing vital hormones because you're missing a vital organ. And I remember there was one time where this doctor was like, well, do you understand calories in, calories out? Like, I was an idiot. Like, stop eating so much was essentially what he was telling me. And I'm like eating like a rabbit. But that's when I decided to be even more restrictive. I went raw vegan, which is not what I should have been doing, but I did that. And it wasn't until actually I got into a car accident, and my brother was in chiropractic school. He's like, hey, you should see this chiropractor. I was like, fine, like I'm in pain, whatever. And that visit changed my life because I sat in there and they did a report of findings where they looked at my x-rays, they looked at my health history, and he took the time to explain my body to me. Like, he took the time to say, hey, your body's created to heal. You cut yourself, you're going to heal. Like, we have to stop covering up symptoms and we have to listen to what our body is telling us. And it was like the first time, like, that started this cascade of like, I mean, I cried because I looked at my x-ray. There was already showing signs of degeneration at just, was it 2021 at that point? I was my mind was blown. This is why I educate. This is why I create content, because he took the time to teach me about my own body. Not endocrinologist, had a great surgeon in Florida. Like, he took the time to say, you've got to understand your body's created to heal itself. Let's start looking at these stressors. Let's start listening to the symptoms and do something about it. So at that time, I drew a line in the sand. I said, I am not going to let a doctor know more about my health going into that office. I have to ask for what I need. I need to be an active participant in my healthcare at 20, 21 years old. Okay, guys? So what I started doing is I started researching online, which is why it also pisses me off. I've seen this kind of flow every now and then. I even saw a surgeon on social media post this, where they posted this thing where it's like, don't confuse my Google search or your Google search with my medical degree. Are you freaking kidding me? I came across studies. I came across like discussion boards where patients had doctors that would actually do the real tests. And they were like, oh no, my doctor did the tests that I needed, that I wasn't getting done. Don't ever be discouraged. Don't ever let someone in that type of setting discourage you from researching and being well educated. Now, yes, we do live in a day and age where there's a lot of information. It can be overwhelming. This is like in my community members, like I have a thyroid inner circle. I'm like, guys, this is why you're here. I'm helping you clear through the research, clear through the information, clear through the articles, and apply this for you. I do that for my clients as well, my coaching clients. But I remember I realized I started asking for my labs from my endo. And I was like, oh, first of all, I saw where I was trending and I was trending low. I saw that the labs weren't complete. And I'll never forget seeing that signature, like, okay, from the doctor, and thinking, but I wasn't okay. And this isn't okay because I'm missing labs and it's not being interpreted right. And so I fired my doctor. And I specifically went onto a website and looked for doctors that were prescribing the medication I wanted to try. And I remember it was a younger guy, younger than my endocrinologist. He was probably in his 40s, which is where I'm at now. And I remember going in there and I always share this, like, I would sit in my car. There was an email. I can probably find the email in my old email. And I would pull up this, I made an email to myself of what I needed to remember before I would go to my doctor's office, because I couldn't remember everything. Like the TSH, this should be lower and this should be higher. So I would read it, okay, have it fresh in my mind, and then go in and say, hey. And I'll never forget, I went in there and I was like, listen, I'd like to get these labs done and I want to try NDT. And he was like, okay, we can work that out. Let's see how you do on it. We'll get these labs done and then we'll check you in 6 weeks. And if you do well with it, we can work on. And it was when I came into a shared decision-making environment, it was like, yep, this is it. I hired him because of where he went to school, what he has access to, and his background. I live in my body. I know when something is off. I know when something is right. And together we can come together. I can bring research to him. I can ask him questions. We come together and he can clear up some things for me. I can share where I'm at, and together we can optimize things for me. A lot of you guys don't have that. This is why I created my Thyroid Inner Circle. This is why I'm here, because you deserve that. This is the thing. You should be able to walk into any doctor's office and be informed and educated about your own health so that you can have informed conversation. And I live in the South, so I know what it's like for people to stay with providers that are just not great because they're nice or they kind of make eye contact or this is who you've always used. Don't do that. I know, and it's easier said than done. I know the process of finding someone new, making the appointment, doing this. It can be like exhausting. It's worth it though. It's worth it. You guys need to fire doctors. I'm not saying you need to go in there and cause a scene or whatever. Just stop going to them. Follow my content. Join my community membership. Learn. Then go in and find you someone that's going to respect you and then work together on optimizing that. You need to be able to, I don't think, because I've had people say like, oh, I wish, you could prescribe. I don't prescribe medication. I'm like, no, especially living without a thyroid, this is for the rest of your life. If you become dependent on some virtual nurse practitioner that's going to prescribe you the medication, what they think you should do and just let them do all the changes, you will never be well. You will never be optimal. And now you're screwing yourself up for the rest of your life. There's one client who had been living without a thyroid for a really, really long time. Back in the day, she had an amazing doctor. He was doing stuff I couldn't believe he was doing when she shared with me, but then he passed away. And then she didn't have it anymore. And then the person that took the place didn't do things like him. You have to understand. Now, what did my health look like? So let's talk about how everything changed for me. So I started bringing in functional practitioners. I have seen a chiropractor because of that experience. I became a doctor of chiropractic because of that experience. I do functional, wellness stuff, but I prioritize my nervous system. I prioritize my nutrition. I prioritize my lifestyle and my environment. I knew that the inflammatory way that I was eating was going to make it harder for me to optimize my meds. I was going to need more meds. I was going to have an imbalance with meds. There's two things that I had to change. Go into a whole foods paleo way of eating. And I did paleo and then got into ketosis now and I fasted. But I also knew I needed to eat more. I was too restrictive. Next, I really worked on changing my environment. Now, I can do a whole nother video on heavy metal toxicity and how I know and believe. I guess I can't know with 100% certainty because there's so many toxins in our environment that destroy our thyroid. There's so many things that can be compounded, but I was toxic with mercury and lead. I know that was a big part of why that thyroid nodule grew. I had gut issues, strep from a very young age. There's all these things where I was like, oh, okay, those are things I should have addressed. But we just didn't know. Like my family, we weren't given those resources or that education. Now, as I wrap up my story, I do want to share my medication. A big thing that changed for me when I started understanding my health was I needed T3. And then after I determined I needed T3, then I realized, oh, you know what? First, I needed NDT, natural desiccated thyroid hormone, and then I needed just T3. And then I realized I need to try whatever season of my life needs it. And what that means is this. I have utilized all the meds. Every 4 or 5 years, and especially like after I have babies, I need to change the type of med and the source of my medication. And so I have done Armour Thyroid, I've done MP Thyroid, I've done Synthroid and Cytomel, I've done levothyroxine, I've done liothyronine, I have experimented with just being on T4 and supplementing with things to support conversion. I've done tyrosine, I've done whatever my body has needed. And the reason why is because I've lost the natural adaptability that comes with having a thyroid. And so have you, if you're watching this. And you need a doctor that's not going to say T4 and T4 only and that's it. That's insane. We're all bio individuals. Like, that's just crazy to think. Everyone the same, around the same amount, and that's it. No. We need to tweak it. We need to change dosing. And if we need to try different brand and we need to try different formula. And you guys, come on. I get it with insurance if you're paying for insurance. But you cannot let insurance dictate what's the best medication for you. I saw this in my community group where someone was like, well, Synthroid and levothyroxine the same. My insurance doesn't want to cover one over the other. Well, they do both have T4, but fillers are different and how your body feels on it will be different. And if you feel better on levothyroxine and you've optimized that and it's good for you and your T3 is good, why would you go for something different because they don't want to pay for it? Because it's not even about optimizing your health. It's about what's more aligned with them, like where they can save money. Let's be real. It's an insurance company. So for me, like where I'm at right now, I'm on natural desiccated thyroid hormone, which I have not been on in 15 years. Before this, I was on Tyrosine and Cytomel, which did great during my pregnancy, but after postpartum, it did not do great. And I kept trying to up it, and I just did not feel good on it. And so I had to switch to Armour Thyroid, and immediately I noticed a big difference. So the biggest thing as I wrap up here that I want you guys to understand from my own journey and how I help people is that you don't have to suffer post-thyroidectomy, but it is going to take more work. It's going to take you no longer being a passive participant in your healthcare. Like, you have to be an active participant in your healthcare. You have to understand the needs of your body so that you can step in for that thyroid that's no longer there. You have to change your lifestyle, guys. Like, getting that thyroid removed, the thyroid is the tissue that was sick, but it wasn't the reason why you were sick. Why did that happen in the first place? Like, what dysregulation do we need to start addressing that you haven't had someone to help you with, or you just didn't know to think about? And then lastly, and I'm very passionate about this, is that thyroid medication and optimizing like what numbers you should be in that range is uniquely you. N equals 1. I don't care about the studies. I care about me. I care about what I see change in my life and be better, and it needs to be treated as such, which means that I do better with my TSH suppress and my free T3 around a 4, and I'm going to do that. So I hope you guys follow along. If this was helpful, let me know if you're going through this journey, how long it's been, 5, 10, or are you like me, 20 years? Are you about to go on this journey? Let me know. Tune in because I want to share some more information about optimizing things post-thyroidectomy.